I'm just a Christian girl in a godless world, trying to find my own way. Hey, 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 yeah. This is a day I find my way. No stopping now, going my own pace, as long as God's leading my way. Hey. Have you ever felt like you were going crazy trying to survive in this world as a Christian? Do you feel the need to go deeper in your relationship with God? Well, join me and others as we dive deep into these topics that most believers won't ever talk about. We're keeping it real, raw, and true. This is Christian Girl in a Godless World with Dominique Dewar. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Christian Girl in a Godless World. I am Dominique Dewar. I'm so happy for you all to join me back here again, where, of course, we are talking about all things relating to God, relating to being a Christian in today's society, and just all the highs and lows with that. If you are not new here, then you know how it is. You know that we're very real here on this podcast, and I'm just grateful for what God is doing. So, as I have mentioned before, I have been definitely wanting to get more guests on the show just to further hear from them, what their experience is being a Christian in this day and age. So I have a new guest today that I'm so excited. I'm going to bring her on, and, we're going to talk about how we met and, her journey, and I'm so excited. So I would like to welcome to the show Miss Alyssa Edie.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi. Okay.
All right. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to have you here today. How are you?
I am not doing so good today, but I am really happy.
Aww.
This is the highlight of my day, so I'm really happy to be here.
Well, I'm so sorry. Today wasn't so good, but I'm glad this is a highlight, and I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yes, that's so great. So, let's talk about how we met, first of all. So, we both mutually follow and are connected to this Christian indie artist named Darla Baltazar from the Philippines. And we both joined her Discord group. If you all have ever heard of Discord, it's like a chat group, I guess, where different people come together and they're interacting. So Darla has a server called the Salt Studio, where a lot of Christian creatives from all over the world come and we fellowship one another. We do creative challenges, songs. It's so many different creatives who are believers. And so this is where I met Alyssa. And yes, and we follow each other on social media, and she has been, just like a firecracker for Jesus and just sharing so much from Jesus' heart, just different revelations that he's given her. And so I'm just like, I want to get her on the show, just to further hear from her what, God is sharing. So Alyssa, please, introduce yourself, just tell us about how you came to Christ, first of all.
Okay.
That's definitely what I would want to hear. Just, how you gave your life to God, just that process.
Okay. First, again, I'm Alyssa. How I came to Christ. I grew up I was born and raised in Jamaica, but I came to the US in 2015. So I grew up in a family that, we always went to church and stuff. I was about God, and I would, I really love God. I was always curious about God, curious about nature and all this stuff. And I gave my life to Christ in 2014. I think I was 12. I was 12 years old. I got baptized in 2014. Then when I moved up here, things kind of just changed. It was like a whole new world, brand new scenery and everything. And I went through a lot of, I feel like you could call it culture shock. I was very culture shock when I came up here, because I was back home in my eyes. Back home in my eyes, you know, I was taught that, you know, everybody's a melting pot and everything. And in my eyes, everybody was just like one. But when I came up here, I saw how everybody was treated everybody differently and like separated and everything. And that's what one of the things that really shocked me, as well as the food. When I first tasted the food, I said, I gotta go home. I cannot stay here. This is not it. I cannot live on this. Like, I was very much.
Yeah.
I remember. If you ask my mom, like, I was making a fuss. But eventually, like a week or two after, I just pretty much got adjusted to it, even though I still didn't like it. But
yeah,
you know, I experienced when I came up here, I kind of just drifted away from Christ. I went to a church that because we were living with my grandparents. We went to their church. You know, the people weren't very necessarily nice. So me and my mom eventually left. Something as well happened between me and my grandmother that, you know, just caused me and my mom to leave and move on. You know, just me and her. And because I had to move schools, I lost a lot of friends. And I for the first time, I discovered what depression was. And I just felt like, you know, everybody just stopped talking to me. You know, I would have like all these people on my Snapchat that always text me, always come to me for advice. I consider them my friends, but you know, they just dropped like flies all of a sudden. Like they didn't even exist anymore. So, and it just kind of put me in a headspace of, that was like the beginning of my depression and stuff. And my depression eventually grew more into me just not having like a self-worth. I was very like what do you call it? Had low self-esteem. I was very what's the word? I didn't like my appearance. I didn't like how people felt around me. You know, in my eyes, everybody was, you know, when they're around other people, I see how they're happy, but when they're around me, I feel like they seem very uncomfortable and miserable. So this is about to get like real trigger warning graphic. So
okay, yeah.
I used to like,
this is real.
I used to because of that, I used to self-harm, and for me it was a punishment for people being unhappy around me or it was my fault that they felt that way towards me. So and my depression even grew much deeper when I was trying to build a relationship with my mom, and I was constantly telling her how I felt, but it just felt like the more I would share how I felt to her, it's like she didn't care, and I just felt kind of abandoned and rejected in a way. So that kind of spiraled into a whole thing. But one summer I was, I was home. She was somewhere else. I forgot where she was, but I was home alone, and God kept approaching me with these videos. I remember my grandfather had sent me this video, and it scared the life out of me because it was a video, you know, showing how Jesus was coming back, and it was like, it's a really happy video. I have they're singing happy songs and praising God about how he's coming back and stuff, and how the sky was opening up and stuff. But for some reason, it scared me. It really scared me. So I was watching that video. God kept showing me other videos like about like just America or even just life in general. And there was this one particular video that I was watching, and when I watched it, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and talk to God. And during that time, you know, to describe how I felt, I was numb. Like because of how much I was holding on to, and I hated crying because I felt like I didn't deserve to cry. So I was just holding in like a lot of tears. I was holding in a lot of stuff, and it was even bad to the point where if I would just stand and I would just have like panic attacks out of nowhere. Wow. So I went to God, and I was like, I had this numbed emotion, didn't feel anything, happiness, I didn't know what that was. I was sad, but I didn't even know fully or how that felt or whatever, even though I was feeling it. Like nothing was really aware to me. So
Yeah.
And I finally knelt down and wanted to just come to him. I didn't know what I wanted to say. I just wanted to be like, okay, God, like, okay. And I didn't know what I wanted to say, but I know I wanted to say something. But all I could say was, okay, God. And after that, it was like somebody robbed me of the ability to form words. And I
Wow.
just started bawling my eyes out. Like,
Mhm.
literally just weeping. That's the word. Just this intense weep. And it's like I was crying, and I felt like Jesus was and like I'm a visual person, so
Yeah, me too.
like, how I saw it was, I see like Jesus and the angels and the presence of God literally drawing closer to me. Because I would also see, like before, how I felt like he was knocking on the door of my heart. He was literally right there. And me coming and saying, okay, God, was the point of me opening the door to him. So that's how I saw it visually, just him just coming in and saying it's okay. That whole thing was him saying it's okay, just let it all go. And during that summer, I finally understood what it meant to feel as light as a feather. I would cry. I cried a lot that summer. I cried so much. And I was pretty much like a little child, just sitting down, just delighting in God, just talking to him like he's my friend, just talk his ears off. Like, you know what, God?
Yeah.
And that. And as I was talking to him, and just I felt like a joy in my heart. Like I never felt that in my I've never felt like that in my entire life. That day was the best day of my life. And that entire week, actually, the week whole 2 weeks were the best days of my life. And it was like he taught me so much. Like he taught me things about the world ending, revelations about the Antichrist, all this stuff, and I didn't even pay attention to it. Honestly, I'm just like, okay, he taught me things. Okay, I'm just like, I'm talking to my father. I even made appointments like every morning. As the sun's rising, like 5 o'clock, I will get up and go take a walk. That's when I lived somewhere else, and I will walk on the bike trail and just talk to him, admire the the trees and stuff or whatever, just admire his creation, admire how it's like my eyes were open to a whole different new world. So as I learned those stuff, and all that burden and stuff went away, I had things changed when I remember I was talking to my sister and telling her how much God has been so good to me, how he's taught me all this stuff. And all of a sudden we started talking about where we came from, and how easy that place was. Like it was just like as soon as you walk into the place, it was like something would just off. So as soon as we started talking about that place, I feel like the atmosphere shifted. Like the dense, thick atmosphere with filled with the Holy Spirit all of a sudden turned into like a cold, eerie feeling, like no welcome guest stepped in. And I kept telling my sister, I was like, something doesn't feel right. And eventually she was like, all right, I'm going to bed. She went to bed, and the unction of the Holy Spirit in me was literally just pray. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm praying for. I said, I don't know what I'm praying for, God. And then after that, it wasn't even me. It was literally the Holy Spirit just saying, get out, you don't belong here, get out. I was on top of my lungs, saying, get out, you don't belong here. And eventually the thing left. And during that time, I didn't even have I remember I didn't have my gift of speaking in tongues. So because of that, it's like your mouth, it wants to say something, but nothing's coming out, just trembling. And I remember I was so I was so scared because I've never had an encounter like that before. And I was so scared. I went to my mom and was like, do you know what just happened? She was like, no. I said, a demon had the audacity to come up in here. And I was telling her as well as something that God was sharing. I was like, God wants you to come back to him and all this stuff. But she didn't pay attention. She didn't pay me any mind or whatever. I don't think she listened to it. But I was so scared that day. I told her, I said, can I just sleep here with you tonight? And to really talk about how crippled the fair was, it was really hot that summer. And
Yeah.
whenever I'm cautious about stuff and I hear something, even the slightest thing, or even just feeling that intense feeling, I like hearing silence around me. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I needed the fan on, but I was like, no, hold up, I'm too scared for this. Like, I'm just gonna sit
Yeah.
here in the hot night in silence, and I was just like
Mm-hmm.
sitting there, just lying there in silence, even though it was really hot. And
Mm.
just to like cut it, because it's like a long thing after that. But that fear eventually brought me into a healing process of, because
Yeah.
even though I felt light as feather, there were still things that God needs to work on in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
When I fasted for the first time, I was like literally being tormented in my mind. It was like so severe. But then God showed me this image that I will eventually send to you, where He
Yeah.
was showing me what He was doing or what He was about to do with my heart. And I
Mm-hmm.
made it my life's like goal to really focus on that picture. And the more I focused on it, I felt like He was like ministering to me as I was trying to bring it
Wow.
out as much as I can. And that's when my healing process really started. Had to learn how to forgive my mom,
Mm-hmm.
forgive
Mm-hmm.
my sister, anybody else who really hurt me. He taught me, he was
Yeah.
like, it doesn't matter whose fault it was, stop playing the blame game. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter whose
Mm.
fault it was or whatever. He just really taught me how to forgive, how to really see things through his eyes. One thing that really
Mm-hmm.
helps me with the day to day with my mom is he teaches me how to see past her words and stuff and see through the
Mm-hmm.
heart of what's really going on with her. So
Yeah.
from there on out, that's when I rededicated my life back to Christ, when I was freed from that. And I always tell people, like, it's best to go to God first. Like, I always say,
Yeah.
question, go to God first. What did He say? Like, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you can't lean on man, because man has, like, they're not sturdy, they're not a solid
Mm-hmm.
foundation. So when it comes to God, I had to learn who God was for myself. Nobody was there.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, as much as I wanted her to be there for me, she wasn't there.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to lean on Him, how to allow Him to give me an understanding of who He was, because that's how you understand who He is, if you let Him give you that understanding. And I just learned a lot of stuff just dwelling in His presence, even though it was hard. I struggled with like a lot of lust and pornography. I learned that whenever I was feeling certain ways, I would just talk to Him. I'd be like, you know what, God, right now I feel like this, I feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to talk to Him and talk it out and allow Him to give me the solution, of course, through His words. You'll absolutely always find Him in His words. And
Mm-hmm.
I've learned how to really just delight in that, just delight in His presence, even to this very day. Like, the enemy is one thing, but the thing we struggle with the most is ourselves. And
Mm-hmm.
really hard to just, like, I feel like a lot of people don't even realize that they focus so much on the enemy, give him so much credit, when it's really us. We need discipline. We need to learn discipline, as well as just learn how to stay deep and grounded in His words. When things get hard, keep going. Like, if you saw the video that I made, something that He said through me while I was praying is that because we set our mind on kingdom things, we will go through kingdom struggles and win with kingdom weapons to trample the enemy underfoot. And that's something that really like stuck to me. I'm like, okay, we are focusing our mind. And even through my depression, something that really kept me going was hope. I had hope. I'm just gonna keep going. I don't want to, because I also learned that it's not that suicide never really came to my mind. In my mind, I was like, because I was taught that when you kill yourself, you not going to heaven or something like that. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? I just want other people to do it for me. And I felt so worthless, and I had such low self-esteem to the point where I literally tell people all the time that I would literally linger from school because I was like, if somebody was supposed to kidnap me or whatever, use me as like a sex slave or whatever it is, I would deserve it, because that's how worthless I felt. It goes even deeper than that, where I would even say, you know, if demons were supposed to come in my dreams and do whatever, I would deserve it as well. Like, and that all stems from, you know, also, and I feel like it will go deeper into something else. We'll talk about it later. It's just a lot of stuff I really just had to learn on my own with God.
Yeah.
I think I'm testimony right there right now.
No, I think that is so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, I feel like that is a very powerful testimony because, you know, we don't recognize just how detached we were from God when we were in the world, or when we had that mindset, right? You don't always see just the implications of that while you're in it, but it's only when you get out of it and God saves you and he transforms you that you really see, like, wow, I was really bound.
Yep.
I was really in it. You know, it's really only until you get out of it that you see just how thick you were in it, you know. And I just think it's so amazing, just the insight that you have and, you know, what God has shared with you. And can you share how old you are? Because I know you're young.
I'm going to be 21 in like what is that? 2 weeks. Well, yeah.
All right, 2 weeks. Oh, the big 2-1. Congrats. Yes, so you're young. You're pretty young, but to have the wisdom that you have is amazing to me. And that was something that I saw. And, you know, I was just asking God, you know, Alyssa, she just has a lot of wisdom, you know, for such a young age. And that is precisely why I wanted to bring you on, because, you know, this episode, you know, you all, is about just the difficulty of just talking about the difficulty in why so many people, many young people are having trouble coming to Christ and being serious about developing a relationship with Christ. So Alyssa's younger, so, you know, she can talk about it just from being, you know, 20, almost 21 years old. And, you know, I'm a little older. I'm not that old, but you know, so I'll be 32, so I'm not in my 20s anymore. I do remember.
You're still God's little girl in his eyes.
Yes, I am still God. Yes, daddy's girl always. Absolutely. So I'm not 21 anymore, but I do remember, you know, when I was 21, I was not on fire for God. I was not strong in my relationship. So just seeing where you are at almost 21 years old is amazing, you know, and it shows the testament of God's faithfulness and his goodness to you, and even your willingness to, you know, give your life to him is, you know, it's so amazing to see.
And it was very interesting. You were saying how when you're in the world, you don't see it. I remember when I when I came to when I rededicated my life back to him, I was like, you know what, God, yeah, because I was listening to, you know, your regular contemporary music, but then I was like, you know what, God, I want you to send me some music that I would like listening to. And that's where Jonathan Ogden came in, and then everything spiraled into a whole different, I've seen a whole different side of Christian music in general. And I'm like, okay, hold up. I asked and he delivered. But as well, as I was looking back, because I was also like trying to find music to listen to, and I was still listening to like worldly music that I used to listen to. I would like narrow them down, but then he made me, as I was listening to the music that I used to listen to, I was like, man, no wonder I was depressed. I was like, all these songs are literally talking about like depressing things, talking about not wanting to be in this world, talking about all these different stuff. And like during that time, he taught me like what you feed yourself is what you eventually become. So it's like you keep feeding yourself depressive music and stuff, is you're gonna become depressive. If you feed yourself talking about like, you know, doing the do's and stuff and being lustful, you're gonna be lustful and find yourself in situations you don't want to be in. So I've learned as well. there's power behind music and the words.
Yeah.
Like, I've learned that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is so true. I mean, you are spot on with that. Music, is so powerful. And, even to tell of just, spiritually and historically, we know that Satan was over music, when he was in heaven. So the fact that, after he fell, he still operates in that area. And that is one of the domains that he really works in, is by getting so many of us, as God's children, getting us and pulling us away from God through the music that we listen to. So this is why we see so many, celebrities and, musicians who do a lot of secular music, and they are not glorifying God. The music is absolutely horrible.
Yep.
The lyrics are, it's like, ooh, and I used to be a big R&B fan, big R&B. And I mean, like, for real, like I had a whole Spotify playlist full of R&B songs, and that was just stuff I ingested every single day. Stay tuned for part 2 of my conversation with Alyssa Edie as we discuss Christianity for the younger generation.